So today I want to share with you something that might surprise you when it comes to people being stuck with illness or even going backwards or even seeing people who are being diagnosed with new illnesses. And the reason I say it might shock you is because as you probably have seen in the world these days, there is a lot of stress. A lot of people are stressed about politics or what's going on in the world or safety or whatnot. And I'm seeing people who are really being impacted in a big way. And of course, if you're here, likely you know that stress affects the physical body. But I think that a lot of people would be surprised at just how impactful that I'm seeing. I mean, I have worked with people even in this past week one gentleman even who went from being really healthy and fit and working out all the time. And he mentioned about 5 months ago that he's been in all of this pain and he basically was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. And he's not the only person. And by the way, when I worked with him to show him how to release his pain, that's exactly what came up. Was it had to do with politics. And he's not the only person. Another woman I just worked with recently, that same thing. And now part of what I'm seeing is a mix of different information, or a mix of different emotions, if you will. You know, some people feeling really fearful, some people feeling angry, some people voted a particular way, one way or another, and then they feel guilty or bad or self-critical about it. I mean, there's just this huge mix of emotions. Some people voted a certain way and they're feeling betrayed and angry. So there's all of these different feelings, if you will, that I'm seeing triggering people, and it's amplifying. Now, sometimes what'll come up for people is they say this. They'll say, well, Brandy, how am I supposed to not be upset about what is going on? And whatever that is for them. And of course, I want to keep this very politically neutral so it's inclusive for everybody, because this is not about politics. This is about healing and happiness and longevity. And so when we look at it, what can happen is people will say, well, how am I not supposed to be upset about this or about that or whatever it is for them? And the way you want to think about it is like this, is to remind yourself that being upset is not the solution. You know, even in my own life, going through my injury, if you stop and think about it, I mean, I was an injured mess, wheelchair, walker, cane, and in extreme pain. And I had to stop being upset and start getting resourceful in order to heal myself. I had to really stop. I had to get out of fear. I had to really get resourceful with my mind and understand the mind-body connection and how it works. And so calming ourselves down and really paying attention to what we need to change, not only for healing, but even in life. You know, when we're really, really angry and upset about something, that's not the solution. And so sometimes people will say, well, how can I not be upset? And further, sometimes people will get into that place where they're stewing over something, where there's something going on in the world and they're upset about it and they're talking about it and they're fueling it. And I can't tell you how much I'm just seeing it increase illness or problems. And as I mentioned, you know, I'll have people who have pain throughout the body and whatnot, and to help them to release it, what's coming up is, can you stop being upset about politics? Can you really shift that? You know, things like that. And by the way, for anybody who might be new, if it sounds odd that I can show people how to shift out of pain just using their thoughts and mind, you know, obviously I've done this under medical equipment so you can see it, and published in a medical journal so you can see it. So if you do want additional training on that, there is a link in the show notes where you can go and take a free training to understand how that works at a deeper level. But on today's quick IQ insight, the quick insight that I want to give you is this, is I want to invite you to notice what your energy is doing towards politics and the world right now. And if you're doing anything that is amplifying the negative or getting upset or venting about it or frustrated or whatnot, I want to invite you to go the opposite direction, to instead calm your nerves. Now, does that mean just don't do anything? No. You know, sometimes people think, well, just being in a happy place and just ignoring everything going on is the answer. And by the way, maybe that is for you. I want to unpack that a bit more, because this is the thing. During my injury, Did I ignore what was going on in the world? Yes. Why? Because I was wheelchair, walker, cane, and there was nothing that I could do. Like I would not have, it wasn't like I could do anything anyway, right? I mean, I was a mess. So unless I was healed, it wasn't like I could contribute to the world in a meaningful way. And so at that point, I put myself in a bubble that said, okay, look, I just have to heal me. If I'm healing me, then I can contribute to the world in a better way. Then I can, then I can be and show up. But at the time, if I would have sat there and listened to the news and the negativity or the stress or whatnot, I probably would not have healed. And so just food for that on that note, because if you're constantly filling your mind with the negative and filling it and stressing it out, that's not helpful, especially when you feel like there's nothing you can do and nothing you can do. But if you're paying attention to information and then you're taking positive action towards it, that can be helpful. And sometimes positive action is, whatever that needs to be for you. So, for example, some people, might say, okay, well, they feel like maybe there's not enough being done towards climate change. And so maybe they go out and they're working on, making a contribution or volunteering for a couple hours a month on something or this, that, or the other, or making a financial contribution towards this, that, or whatever it is, or just even making sure that they're recycling in their own household and doing things in their own life that are good for the planet and just taking care of themselves, but doing so in a conscious way. So maybe that's it. It's just, my point is exactly that, is that if we just stress and stew and get negative and stay negative about it, it can affect your health, your life, your energy, and I'm seeing it so much. And so I know this, for some people, they go, of course, stress affects the physical body. Yes, of course, I know this. And I want to invite you to think about, what are you doing with this in your life? Just because if I told you how much I'm seeing this increase in people's lives, keeping them from healing themselves, or even new people getting diagnosed with this and this, and they come in and they say, Brandy's, last year I was healthy, I was running, I was doing this year I have this issue, and I can't do anything, and I can't believe it, and what happened, and it's just, I'm seeing more and more of it. And so that's what I wanted to share with you on today's Quick IQ episode, is I want to invite you to look at your life and ask yourself, are you processing things in a positive way that's good for your health and your happiness, your life, your longevity? And if you're not, what are a few changes that you could make that would help? And again, during my injury, there was a point where I just needed to ignore everything and just focus on my healing. But even then, my life was very fearful in my healing. It was, so I really had to change my emotions. I had to change inside of me. And so looking at your life, are you fueling the negative? Do you need to change? What does that look like for you in your life? And so food for thought today, just, the more that every single person can be happy and healthy and loved and loving, the better this world is for all of us. And so on that note, please do take just a quick moment to hit the share button on this episode. Share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person is happy and healthy and loved and loving, the better this world is for all of us. And, when we really stop and think about the more that we do lift positive energy and the more that we do bring in happiness, it really does change the world for the better, if we can just do that even in our own lives. And so, but on the opposite side, if more and more people are angry or upset and then fueling negativity, the more it goes the wrong direction, And so, of course, just food for thought. And I wish you an incredible rest of your day. And again, if you're somebody who has not taken the training on how to work with your mind to really be able to understand how mind-body healing works, come join me, a free online masterclass on how to do it and what everybody's overlooking. But the biggest thing is of course, creating change in our world. So that said, I wish you an incredible rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you next week. We'll see you there.